A new Consumer Report investigation reveals many of the top-selling protein powders and shakes contain unsafe levels of lead. Consumer Report finds they tested 23 protein powders, and researchers found that 70% of those contain more lead than is safe to consume in a single day. They also found that plant-based products had 9 times more lead than dairy-based products. The powders in this case, currently there is no federal limit on lead in these supplements. This morning, though, we did speak with Dr. Peter Cohen about his recommendations when it comes to protein powders.
If we turn to some organization like USP, US Pharmacopoeia, they analyze supplements before they come on store shelves to ensure that they're exactly what's labeled on the bottle. So my recommendation would be to purchase USP certified supplements.
With Americans already consuming excess protein, other recommendations is to limit powders and opt for whole foods like beans, eggs, and lean meats.
All right, new this morning, California is launching its own inexpensive form of insulin. Governor Newsom says the CalRx insulin pens will be available to Californians starting January 1st for $11 per pen. The generic insulin is part of California's efforts to produce its own drugs in order to lower prescription costs. State leaders say the goal is to keep people who need insulin from ever needing to choose between their health and their wallet. And later today, the governor will hold a press conference to make an announcement on affordable prescription treatment. We'll bring you that live when it starts.
This morning, we are helping raise awareness when it comes to polycystic ovarian syndrome, also known as PCOS.
It's the most commonly undiagnosed hormonal disorder in women, and Brooke Thomas is live in Beverly Hills to explain more about it and how it can impact fertility. Hi there, Brooke.
Hey there. So one, I hear that it severely impacts fertility, and so we're going to talk about that. I also just wanted to know what you all were saying. Something I saw at the National Institutes of Health, they say something between 5 and 10 million women are dealing with PCOS. And I think that's such a big discrepancy, right? 5 to 10 million. That's just a good example of how many women are undiagnosed. I'm here with Dr. Sasha Hackman. Okay, what is this?
So this almond-shaped organ right here is one ovary.
Okay.
And contained within the ovary, you have what's called antral follicles. So these are containers for an egg, and as they leave the resting stage, they rise to the surface of the ovary, kind of like the bubbles on top of sparkling water or champagne. Okay. And so we can actually count every single follicle here to get an idea of a woman's egg reserve. But what is an average count of 6 to 8 follicles per ovary, sometimes up to 10, is even considered normal. With PCOS, you'll often see 20 plus follicles. In this case, this is just one still image, but this patient had 50 follicles as I scan through the ovary. So if I'm counting right here, I can see there's one larger follicle, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all along the periphery, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-ish follicles just in this one still image. They tend to sort of push in the periphery of the ovary with white dense tissue in the middle that's responsible for producing a lot of your testosterone.
So when we're talking about how this affects fertility, I think someone who, like me, is not a doctor, you think more is better.
Right.
But no.
It would seem that way, but that's not the truth, because what ends up happening is there's this disconnect between the brain and the ovary, and they're not really talking to each other. There's all these signaling issues with the hormones where the ovary's not actually able to recruit a dominant follicle to ovulate. So there's issues with releasing an egg every month in order to increase your chances at a pregnancy. But more than that, because PCOS is generally speaking, an inflammatory disorder, it can negatively impact egg quality. It can make it difficult even for implantation to happen once embryo development occurs. And so the embedding of the embryo into the uterine lining to grow inside the uterus becomes more difficult. There's also studies showing that there's an increased risk of pregnancy loss with PCOS. This doesn't mean that everyone who has PCOS is going to deal with infertility or even need fertility treatments, but it's certainly more common.
Okay, so this is something you should look into and check for symptoms, talk to your doctor about, be more knowledgeable about, because you can't fix things or manage things or treat things if you don't even know.
Correct. And the earlier you start, the better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll send things back to you all in the studio. I'm learning all about so many things about the body. I would have counted this totally differently. I'll tell you that. That's why I am nobody's doctor. I was like, wait, and 1, 2, and there's 4 right there. Like, what? Back to you.
Yeah, and this is such an important topic. So many women might not even know they're dealing with it, and this will definitely help raise awareness. Thank you, Brooke.